Ever get that kind of creepy feeling when an online ad seems to know exactly what you've been thinking about, like it's reading your mind?
Haha, yeah, it can feel that way, can it?
It's kind of wild. But really, it's the power of digital marketing at work. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, those fundamental digital marketing strategies. We're taking inspiration from an episode of the Digital Marketing 360 Degrees Boost Your Agency podcast, and they get into some seriously practical advice, even if you're not running an agency yourself.
Definitely. Because even outside of the agency world, understanding this stuff, digital marketing, it can really change how you connect with people online, whether it's customers, folks who share your interests, or even just navigating the sea of information out there.
Totally. Okay, so first things first. When we say digital marketing, what are we actually talking about?
It's a good question.
This podcast episode we're looking at, it makes a really interesting comparison to traditional marketing. And think like those old school billboards or even jingles that get stuck in your head for
Ah,
days.
that jingles.
They're the worst. But the podcast, it compares traditional marketing to trying to catch fish with a huge net. You're just casting it out and hoping for the best.
Right, you're aiming for anything that bites. But digital marketing, it's more like using a fishing rod.
Oh, I see.
You've got your bait, and you're being a lot more selective about the kind of fish you're trying to attract.
So instead of just shouting your message to anyone who might be listening, you're using what, like websites and social media to connect with the right people?
Exactly. It's all about being targeted and deliberate with your efforts. And that's where the digital part really comes into play, right? Because instead of those static billboards, you have interactive websites. And rather than hoping people will stumble across your ad in a magazine, you can use search engines to pop up exactly when they're looking for something you offer.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Instead of putting an ad in a newspaper that someone might glance at for a second, you're showing up right when they're typing in best bakery near me or whatever it is.
Exactly. You've got to meet your audience where they are, and these days, that's online.
Definitely. But it also sounds like there's a lot to unpack there. Like, what does it even mean to, say, optimize for search engines? I hear SEO thrown around all the time.
Yeah, SEO. It stands for Search Engine Optimization, and it's a huge part of digital marketing. Basically, it's all about making sure your website and your content, they're showing up high in those search engine results.
Right, because let's be honest, when you Google something,
Yeah.
you're probably not scrolling through pages and pages of results.
Exactly. Most people click on one of those first few
Oh,
links.
for sure.
So if you want people to find your business online, you have to make sure your website is optimized for those searches. And a lot of it comes down to understanding the keywords people are using and then incorporating them naturally into your content.
It's like learning the secret language of Google so your website actually gets seen. That's really interesting.
It is fascinating, yeah. And that's just one example, really, of how digital marketing is all about using data and technology to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, how often are you really going past that first page of Google results?
Right. Almost never.
Okay, so we've been talking about digital marketing in general, but this podcast episode, it also gets into how digital marketing is different from traditional marketing.
Yeah, they're definitely different animals.
Totally. One's like using a super high-tech drone, and the other's like navigating with a paper map.
I love that analogy. Both can get you where you need to go, but the approach is totally different.
Yeah, for sure. So, when we're talking about what makes digital marketing unique, what are some of the big things that stand out?
Well, one of the biggest differences with digital marketing is how measurable everything is. It's like having a feedback loop built right in.
You mean like you can actually see how people are responding to your marketing?
Exactly. See, with traditional marketing, it was really hard to know if your efforts were even working. Like you could put an ad in a magazine and maybe you'd see your sales go up. But how do you know that was because of the ad?
Right, it could be a total coincidence.
Exactly. But with digital marketing, you can track pretty much everything. Clicks, views, downloads, you name it. Let's say you launch some online ads. You can actually tell how many people saw those ads, how many people clicked on them, and even how many of those clicks turned into sales.
So you're not just throwing things out there and crossing your fingers, you actually know what's landing and what's not.
That's the beauty of it. And because you've got all that data right there in front of you, you can actually see what's working and what's not.
Oh, that's got to be so helpful. Like, if you're spending money on ads that aren't converting, you can just, like, stop those and try something else.
Precisely. You're constantly refining your approach based on real-time feedback.
Wow, that's a game changer, especially if you're working with a smaller budget.
Absolutely. You don't have to waste money on campaigns that aren't moving the needle. You can make sure every dollar is working as hard as it can.
It's like digital marketing is all about making those dollars count.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not just about saving money, it's about being as effective as possible with your marketing,
Uh-huh.
reaching the right people at the right time with the right message. Which I think brings us to another important question. Why should anyone even care about digital marketing? Like, why does it matter?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, it's easy to get lost in the weeds talking about websites and SEO and everything, but at the end of the day, digital marketing really is about connecting with people.
Yeah, you got it.
And these days, like we've been saying, those connections are happening online.
Think about it. When was the last time you actually, went somewhere without looking them up online first?
Oh my gosh, all the time, especially restaurants got to check out the menu first, right?
Exactly. And
It,
businesses know that people are doing that.
of course.
So they're using these digital marketing strategies to try to meet their customers online, whether it's creating content, building those relationships on social media, or making sure that their website is the first thing that you see when you search for whatever it is that they offer.
So it's not even enough to just have a website these days. You've got to make sure it's actually working for you.
That's it. That's the key.
This podcast episode we've been talking about, it makes a really good point about how digital marketing, it's really leveled the playing field for businesses.
It's not just for the big corporations anymore.
Exactly. Like it used to be that you had to have this huge marketing budget to reach a lot of people.
Right, you had to buy a billboard or a TV commercial or something.
Exactly. But now with digital marketing, like a small business, they can potentially reach just as many people as a huge company,
And it's true. And they have access to the same tools.
which is incredible.
Yeah, and they can really target their efforts really precisely. So they're not wasting any money, trying to reach people who aren't interested in what they're offering.
So are you saying that like a small bakery down the street could actually use digital marketing to compete with like a big national chain?
Absolutely.
Wow.
They could make really beautiful pictures of their pastries and put them on social media, or they could, use those online ads that we were talking about to target people in the neighborhood
Oh, that's smart.
and say, hey, come on in and try a croissant, things like that.
That's a game changer. It's like digital marketing is giving everyone a chance.
Exactly. It's democratizing marketing, I think, in a lot of ways.
I love that. So where do you think is a good place to start if someone's like, okay, this all sounds great, but I don't even know where to begin?
That's a great question. Um, I always tell people the first thing is to just think about what you want to achieve. Like, what are your goals? Do you want to get more people to know about your business? Do you want more people to come to your website?
Right. Figure out what your goals are.
Exactly. And once you know what your goals are, then you can start thinking about, well, okay, what do I need to learn in order to achieve those goals?
I love that. Start with the goal in mind and kind of work backward.
Exactly. And, it's a learning process.
Oh, for sure.
Nobody becomes a digital marketing expert overnight.
That's true.
It takes time, you know? It's a marathon, not a sprint, as they say.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, and I always like to end these deep dives with something that our listeners can kind of think about.
Okay, I like it.
So we talked about how digital marketing is all about meeting your audience online. So my question for our listeners is, where are those meeting points for you? Think about your own business or, a project that you're passionate about. Are you active on social media? Is your website like really interesting and engaging and easy to use?
Right. Are you showing up on that first page of Google results when people search for things related to what you do?
Those are great questions to think about.
The digital world is always changing, so it's an ongoing process. You've got to keep learning, keep adapting, just like we were saying, and find those creative new ways to connect with people.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of digital marketing. And to everyone listening, thank you for being here. Keep those conversations going, keep experimenting, and we'll see you next time.